Let me just take a few minutes and then I'm going to sit down with Linda Laurel. Over the last 19 months, we have faced many challenges on multiple levels. About 3,500 people, Houstonians, have lost their lives to COVID. This morning, when I prepared, jotted down these notes, the number was 12. That number is now 13. In terms of municipal city employees, we lost another police officer to COVID. And so we've lost 13 city employees out of that 3,500. Municipal employees, police, and fire. And COVID has been like a house guest that just wouldn't go home. No matter how hard you try to push him out the door, just is kind of lingering around. We have faced social and civil unrest, but at the same time, the city did not burn. There was not much vandalism at all in our city, and we never implemented a citywide curfew in our city. We have faced a winter storm Uri. Literally, it shut the city down. We faced Hurricane Nicholas this summer. It wasn't a rain event, it was more a wind event. And at the same time, we have faced rising crime from 2020 going into 2021. Homicides are up, domestic violence up, and on an annual basis, 3,800 guns are stolen from vehicles in our city on an annual basis. So we have faced multiple challenges, but at the same time, this city has proven to be resilient, and we push through. Let me just extend a few thank yous to some people. Let me start off by thanking our healthcare workers, our doctors, nurses, and respiratory therapists. Let me thank our frontline responders, police, fire, EMS. And a group that's oftentimes overlooked, let me thank our grocery store workers, cashiers, stockers, truck drivers. Let me thank those people who drive our buses and our transit systems. Let me thank the metro bus drivers and transit workers. Let me thank our educators, principals, teachers, cafeteria workers, janitors, bus drivers. Let me thank a group of people who took it on the chin, our restaurants, who literally took it on the chin, but they innovated and they managed to stay open, businesses still thriving. I want to thank them. Let me thank moms and dads who had to make major adjustments in attending to the needs of their kids when the schools just shut down. But most importantly, out of all of these groups, let me thank the kids. They missed their proms, they missed their graduations, they were away from their kids. Many of them didn't understand what they were experiencing and what they were going through. But our kids, the students like were on this stage earlier today, they have proven to be resilient. And even when we were at our worst, our kids reminded us that there was still work to do. Give it up to our children. And despite our challenges, we did not stand still, and in our city, we did not turn back. The city of Houston, city council members, we balanced two budgets, June of 20 and June of 21. We never laid off a single person, and in part that was due to President Biden's administration, members of our congressional delegation, for the federal dollars, the CARES funding, the ARPA funding that was provided. So I want to thank the members of Congress and the delegation for standing up for the city of Houston and helping their city out. Please give it up to the congressional delegation. Our Resilient Houston Plan and Climate Action Plan and our complete community initiatives have gained even more momentum. Innovation centers are literally exploding across our city. The spaceport, with Axiom Space and Intuitive Machines, Collins Aerospace, they are building this ecosystem, this aerospace ecosystem at the spaceport at Ellerton Field. 1,300 jobs are coming to the city. And while today we're talking about people flying into space, they're looking at building the first space station coming right here from the city of Houston. TXRX started off as 10 to 12,000 square feet, and just last year, we cut the ribbon. It's now 300,000 square feet, where the focus is on innovative manufacturing and technology. The Ion will soon open. Started off as just a small thought, and now it will be a leading component in terms of our innovation hub. The Canaan in West Houston is off and going. Greentown Labs, the largest incubator on the North American continent, has expanded from the Boston area, now in the city of Houston, focused on clean tech and climate tech. TMC, the Texas Medical Center, already the largest in the world, is now even seeking to expand. HPE, Hewlett Packard, and NRG have now relocated their principal headquarters to the city of Houston. And over the last 19 months, we never shut down residential and commercial construction. And as a result, we opened the doors to Houston Botanic Gardens. The Museum of Fine Arts is another destination venue for our city, completing a major $450 million capital expansion. And if you haven't seen it, you need to see it. Memorial Park is now an urban oasis. The Houston Open debuted last year, and next month it will be the place to be. Anime Missouri and Compapalooza drew record crowds this summer. The downtown post office, the old one shut down, is now being reimagined. And now there will be restaurants, innovative workspace, a garden on the rooftop, a hotel, and it's taken off. Sunnyside, a low-income community, a landfill that was opened in the 1930s, closed under protest in 1970. It left 240 contaminated acres, pulling down Sunnyside. For the last 50 years, the city is now working with energy companies. We are reimagining that space. It is now planned to be the largest urban solar farm in the country, enough power to generate 5,000 homes, take out 120 million pounds of emissions, pour in an investment of $70 million, create equitable and green jobs, and lift up Sunnyside and transform it for the better. The Top Chef will be filming now in the city of Houston. And there is talk now of building the largest sound stage in the city, in the country, where we can say to Atlanta and LA and New York, you are the Hollywoods of yesterday. Look out, the city of Houston is on its way. The Alley Theater. Since March of last year, not one ticket was sold because of the coronavirus. The employees, the staff took a 10 to 15% reduction in their salaries. The patrons and sponsors raised $13 million to assist the staff and the employees. And last Thursday, they opened on their 75th season, partnering with the ensemble, and now they have said to the rest of the city, the show must go on. The Astros, they carry the city of Houston. The Astros carried the city of Houston on their jersey, on their bats, and their gloves during Harvey, and now again, coming at the end of 19 months of COVID, they have said to the Chicago White Sox, not your turn, and they will be saying to the Boston Red Sox, not your turn. Houston is on the rise one more time. Last week, the Houston Hispanic Chamber packed a room with over 1,200 people. And I can't say enough for what they did last week. And today, I look out at this room from one to the other, and I see a lot of tables and a lot of people, which says to me, and I hope will say to you, that in this city, challenges will come, and they will. And there will be a lot of things we can't stop or prevent. But we can say that we will continue as a city to work together. Our diversity will not be a liability, but together we will work to make things happen. I want to close as I get ready to go to my seat with something that Chris Krishna said. He said, there is much to be learned from yearly seasons. Does a tree mourn the leaves lost during autumn? Does the garden mourn the flowers that have wilted? See how they all bounce back with the advent of spring and fill our lives with new freshness. It is time for us all to create a brighter, more hopeful future. Let us cheer the new dawn. Houston, we rise in the dawn of our future. Whatever we have faced in the past, that is the past. And now today, the sun is shining. Houstonians are finding their mojo. And we have decided that we do not seek to be second, we seek to be first. We do not want to be a city of two in one. We want to be one city that no matter where you come from, no matter your language, no matter your religion, no matter your faith, no matter your age, no matter your sexual orientation, in this city, we stand and rise as one. Welcome to the new dawn of our future.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Our mayor, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Well, I think one thing is clear. You never lost your mojo. Your mojo is on overdrive. Oh my goodness. My goodness, how much do you love this city?
Let me just say, there could not be a better city. It's not, I owe a great deal of this city like many of us did, you know. This city has given so much to me and to my family, and so it's about how much can we give back to our city. Mm-hmm. And the times never get too rough. The challenges never become too great that you want to throw in the towel. And if you love something enough and you believe in something enough, then you're going to weather the storms. And you don't just see the storms, but you see the rising of the sun.
Right.
And that's the way I look at it.
Well, I love yes, that please, why not? I love the theme of today. We rise. Always rise. And we have had a lot to rise from in the last, as you said, 19 months, from floods and all kinds of weather events and hurricanes and, you know, extreme heat.
Yeah.
And so when you look at all of this, and I'm thinking now about we just went through the 4th anniversary of Harvey, right? The end of August. And I remember in council meeting you said, we are much better prepared now
Yes.
than we were 4 years ago. So I want you to elaborate a little bit on that and tell us why you feel so strongly about that and what is yet to be done. That all of the money that went for Harvey relief and the rebuild, et cetera, a lot has been done. There's still construction going on. So tell us more about what has happened and then what there is yet to do.
And we're in a much better position than we were during Harvey. We are not yet where we want to be or need to be, but we are much better. In terms of our assets, our water equipment, training, Chief Pena is here from the fire department. He will tell you that the fire department and the police department, Public Works, Gary Haddock is here, Chief Fenner with the police. In terms of our assets, we are much better. I remember during Hurricane Harvey, we were looking at taking assets from one part of town to try to shift them to another part of town, but it was raining all over town. Right. So that made it much more difficult. Now, today, we have assets where we can deploy in all the different quadrants, where we're not having to just pull from one area to another. We changed the ordinance. We're building higher. You know, we don't allow, you have to build 2 feet higher if you're in the floodplain. And at the same time, we're very resistant to just building in the floodplain, in the floodway, because there's no use building money for failure when you know that homes or housing will flood if you put them there. So we're doing things differently. We have acquired 360 additional acres for regional detention. So that's within our bailiwick. We have bought out various of areas, facilities where we know are prone to flood to take them out. The city's 4 major hazard mitigation projects, Kingwood. Mayor Pro Tem Dave Martin is here. We are moving forward on that. We've done a lot of dredging at Lake Houston, San Jacinto, so we've done that. In the Inwood area, that project, the Inwood Forest Golf Course, some may be familiar with it, Councilmember Peck, that's her area. We're turning that into a major detention system. With respect to the North Canal, that's the largest stormwater project. We are moving forward in the kind of engineering phase on that, and that will take that lower part of downtown, the Heights area, that White Oaks area, and that would have to make things better. Project Braze, with respect to Buffalo Bayou, that project is well underway, probably will be completed next year. In the west side of town, for example, working with TERS 17, major detention area. In the Westbury area, I know Vice Mayor Pro Tem Castak Tatum is here. We have acquired the old Shell facility, 13 additional acres for added detention. So there are a number, we put in green stormwater and incentivizing to do those type of things. So
stormwater? What is
structures, using parks, for example, green on that end, but in terms of the actual infrastructure, stormwater projects. Okay, so we are focused on that. There are about 142 projects by the end of next year that will be completed. So we are in a much better position than we were during Harvey, but we are not yet where we need to be. And these projects
what's the biggest thing that has yet to happen that you're wanting to see happen at this point?
All of those hazard mitigation projects, those are infrastructure projects, and they can range in terms of time of completion from 3 to 5 years. That North Canal project, that's probably like a five-year project. And then at the same time, we're certainly we want to get about $1 billion of the HUD mitigation funding on infrastructure projects. That's needed. And I do want to commend we're working with the county. I know Commissioner Garcia is here, working with them on the $2.5 billion that the voters approved for infrastructure projects. So there are a number of things in terms of infrastructure that we need. And then let me just say this, since the congressional delegation is here, the bipartisan infrastructure bill is certainly needed.
Yes.
And so we need that. And the Build Back Better bill needed. So that's a lot of infrastructure dollars that we can utilize right here in the city of Houston. But in terms of the local funding, we've already invested about $780 million in terms of local infrastructure funding on drainage projects.
So let's stay with infrastructure for a moment and talk about road construction, because it is everywhere. As you said, we really didn't lose a lot of construction during the height of the pandemic. So are we ever going to get all the roads? Get to a point where we don't have this much construction?
Well, let me put it this way. Before I came into office, since I've been in office, people say the roads are bad. Well, if you don't fix them, they stay bad. And then when you start to fix them, people say there's road construction everywhere. In this city, road construction everywhere is a good sign. Because in order to fix the bad roads,
you gotta get out there and
you got to get out and done it. So I want to commend Director Carol Haddock. We have put forth our hazard rehabilitation street project. And so what I said when I came in office the second term in January, that we wanted to fix up the street. We wanted you all to see a noticeable improvement by the time I left office in December of 23. And what that means is that we have taken advantage of COVID and people being off the street to really accelerate that program.
I have to say, during COVID, when the construction happened on Westheimer, it was so wonderful to see that, because the streets were empty and they got a whole chunk of that street done, and it was great. It was really great.
So it's not about just fixing a pothole.
Right.
I mean, many of the streets in the city of Houston really need to be redone. And if you're in the, for example, if you're driving and you can't drink a cup of coffee without it spilling over, you know.
I think we've all been there.
You got a problem, and people don't want their tires to be ruined because the streets are bad. So I will be honest and open with you. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of construction, you know, over the next couple of years.
But it means we're moving in the right direction.
It does mean that we are responding
to the needs.
To what we are hearing, what we are seeing, and we want the roads to be much, much better.
In your remarks just a moment ago, you talked about balancing two budgets.
Yes.
So I want you to go a little deeper and tell us how you managed to do that. Because the city had estimated a loss of $199 million over 2020, 2021,
Correct.
And even into 2022.
Sure, correct.
And so how did you do that?
Well, I said two budgets we balanced in 2021. Quite frankly, since I've been mayor, we balanced 6 budgets.
All right, then.
Okay, and what I mean by that, for people who can remember, when I came in, we had a pension crisis.
Yes, we did.
Okay,
yes, we did.
that problem has been solved. And with respect to the budget last year, 2020 and 2021, it was bad. Quite frankly, things shut down. Sales taxes plummeted. There was nobody parking, so there were no parking fees. People were not going to the restaurants or going to the clubs, so beverage taxes went down. So it was tough. And literally without the federal support, the dollars that came in, that were made available by President Biden and the congressional delegation, we would have had massive layoffs. In the absence of those dollars, we would have had to lay off probably about 2,000 city employees. And it would have been very difficult to balance without even impacting police and fire. So we were able to do it. We've also added, recognizing that we're dealing with rising crime, we've added another cadet class. So there are now 6 cadet classes. When I came in, we always had at least 5. But this budget, we've added another 6. And then we've provided even additional dollars for overtime. We provided additional dollars for technology for our police department, ShotSpotter. We've done that. We are partnering with other law enforcement agencies. Quite frankly, we are putting as many resources and giving Chief Fenner and the 5,300 police officers that we have what they need to do their job. And then at the same time, in responding to reforms, we are investing $25 million over the next 3 years into diverting people who are in crisis from police. And for example, if people are dealing with mental behavioral health issues, they find themselves in crisis, we're investing dollars to redirect those 911 calls, 311 calls from police to counselors, mental specialists that can assist them more. The same thing with our homeless population, people on substance abuse, and then we are investing quite a bit more into our domestic violence teams, because domestic violence has increased in our city by 40%. And quite frankly, you just can't tell people to leave. That's the most dangerous thing, in leaving. And so you want people to leave safely, and you want to make sure that they have a place to go, and that we provide them with all the necessary resources. So we're investing a lot more dollars into domestic violence.
So I want to pick up on a couple things that you just touched on. Let's talk about the increase in crime for just a moment. It's happening all over the country, it's not just here in Houston. Everywhere crime is up. Here in Houston, homicides are up about 30% or so in the last year, and 73% in the last couple of years. So my question is, what kinds of conversations are you having now with Chief Finner to help bring down the crime rate? I know you just talked about the new cadet classes, et cetera. But give us a little bit more context in terms of what you are doing, along obviously with Chief Finner and the police department, to help Houstonians feel safer in our communities.
And you are absolutely correct. Across the country, crime is up. I don't care where you go, crime is up. Talking with the U.S., other mayors across the country, we're all dealing with it, regardless of where you are. But my primary concern is what's happening here in the city of Houston. And let me just tell you, we have an outstanding police force. Chief Finner, his command staff, the 5,300 police officers that we have, they do an exceptional job. And so our commitment is to give them everything that they need. And I meet with Chief Finner on a weekly basis, and oftentimes more than that, and we talk quite a bit. And so more cadets, class to become more police. We just had a cadet graduation on last week. More technology like ShotSpotter. So we're providing dollars on that front. More overtime, because if you don't have the bodies, you need to provide the overtime so you can have more people on the street. So we are doing that. All of those things we're doing. Partnering with other law enforcement agencies. You may have heard, like last week, a week before last, the announcement, people who were the ring that was terrorizing people in the Galleria, West Time, all in that area.
Yes.
That was
Caught those guys.
24 of them,
Yeah.
working with AFT. But that was a ring. They had a day ring, and then they had a night game.
Yeah.
Okay, so they had a day shift working, they had a night shift working. Well, 24 of them are now off our streets. Many are facing federal crimes, and they're providing information on others as well. Mm-hmm. And I give a lot of credit to HPD, to AFT, to all of our law enforcement partners for making that happen. And then I give a lot of credit for people who provide information, because it's not just about law enforcement. All of us are part of it. Mm-hmm. And what I would say to the people in this city, somebody knows somebody who's committing these crimes. And everybody has a responsibility to protect their community, to protect their city, to provide information. So it's not just law enforcement. At the same time, and it's also important for us to invest in these communities. So it can't just be law enforcement. I've said from day one when I came into office, you cannot ignore communities, and quite frankly, this city has ignored many communities, many neighborhoods, not just for years, but for decades. Well, you can't do that without it coming back to haunt you.
Well, that's what Complete Communities is all about, and we're going to go there in just 1 minute. I want to stay with police reform for just a moment, with policing. Because in the wake of the George Floyd murder,
yes,
obviously there's been a national outcry for reforms in policing, especially how police are performing in communities of color. You created a task force on policing reform, and so my question is, which recommendations are you in the process of implementing that will address accountability, transparency, and crisis intervention strategies?
There were 104 recommendations that came from the Mayor's Task Force on Police Reform, and we are working at this point to implement, I would say, between 60 to 70% of them. So on all of the recommendations pertaining to crisis intervention, we are moving forward on that, and we are putting the dollars in that. With respect to the Independent Police Oversight Board, the Deputy Inspector General, that's all in place. We're moving forward on that. With respect to the dashboards, transparency, there are 5 dashboards, interactive. I give a lot of credit to Councilmember Pollard, who was very helpful on that front. That's all been implemented, and we're moving forward on that. With respect to making sure that our officers come to know the communities that they are policing, we are moving forward on that. With respect to de-escalation, those things are taking place. Reporting, all of those are taking place. The sort of initiatives that we call 8 Can't Wait, all of those have been implemented. So I would say at this point, 60 to 70, probably closer to the 70%, are already in effect, so much so that they're even talking about Houston's reform on the national level. And quite frankly, I want to thank all of the partners for helping to make that happen. I give a lot of credit to Larry Payne, because Larry Payne chaired that task force. Yeah. And even with his health failing, and not at the very best, Larry Payne rose to the occasion. He epitomizes the theme for the day, you know, we rise. Always he rise. Rose up, and the city of Houston is better because, let me tell you, we work at our best when the police and the community are on the same page, working as a team, moving and fighting crime together. That's who Houston, that's who we are. And the task force and the reforms reflect community and police being on the same page, on the same team, working together.
Great. Well, that's a perfect segue into talking about the Complete Communities Initiative. So share with the audience, you know, kind of, I know you started with 5 communities and we're up to 10 now. So let the audience know kind of what they are and where you are in the process of having this vision come to life.
Well, number one, you can't transform all neighborhoods and communities throughout the city at the same time with the limited resources that you have. If you do that, you will be an incrementalist and not a transformationalist, okay? Because you just don't have enough resources. Neither can the city of Houston just do it with its resources. We don't have it. So we have to partner with the private sector, nonprofits, faith-based organizations, other institutions to make it happen. We have to leverage resources. And so what we are saying to various organizations, individuals in this city, whatever you have, come and join us, and then let's leverage our resources together, and we can bring about transformation in the shortest period of time. So, for example, housing is important, and not just affordable housing, but you need mixed income housing in these communities, because you don't get the quality grocery stores if they don't see the rooftops. And there are places within our city where there are still food deserts. And you can't tell people to eat healthy if you don't make healthy options available for them. And so we've partnered, again, Vice Mayor Pro Tem Tatum led the charge on Harvest Market. These are mobile trolleys with Harvest Market that we are now bringing quality items, grocery items, into these communities.
So, and let's tell them what the communities are. So we're talking 3rd Ward, Kashmere, Acres Homes, Near North, Magnolia Place, Gulfton, Fort Bend, Sunnyside. What am I missing?
Yes.
But that's generally what we're talking about.
Kashmere, yeah. Those are the 10 areas, very diverse, from Gulfton to Magnolia Place, East End, 2nd Ward, 3rd Ward, Acres Home, A-Leaf, Sunnyside, Acres Home. Those are the 10. Okay. And it covers the gamut of the city. It's about quality neighborhood parks. Look, let me just tell you, I love Memorial. I love Discovery Green. I love Herman. But let me tell you what would transform communities and neighborhoods are those local neighborhood parks, because that's where most of our kids go. And so it's important to have quality parks. And so we started this initiative, 50 by 50, asking companies to sponsor, to adopt, to invest in 50 local parks. Before I leave, the course that we're on, we will revitalize 22 of those 50, okay, before I leave. Amazing, yeah. But we still need partners.
So, yeah, so I was just going to say, we're in a room filled with potential partners, right?
And I know they're here. I mean, if I put out an offertory plate, if I put out an offertory plate, just said, bring me your card. You know, I know before they leave, they would come through and give them their card and say,
so,
Mayor, what a blessing.
Where do you need help? Where do you need help with Complete Communities?
Number one, let me be very direct. Before the death of George Floyd, it was hard to get people to buy in on Complete Communities. It's easy to get people to buy in on brick and mortar. But when you start talking about investing in communities, in these neighborhoods, where many people don't even go, they don't see it. They see their neighborhood, but they don't see many of these other communities that have been malnourished for decades. And so it took a while. After the death of George Floyd, I think people started to open their minds. Because quite frankly, when people were talking about don't give money to police, that's not what I heard. What I heard people saying, yes, we need police. We want you to give law enforcement what they need. But Mayor, we also want you to invest in these neighborhoods that have been overlooked. We talk about rising up. If we don't impact our kids, children that are growing up, then they'll grow up bitter and angry. Because you know why? We live in a mobile society. Let me tell you when my eyes open up. I grew up in Acres Home. I still live in Acres Home. But when my dad put us in his truck and drove across town to the other neighborhoods to cut their yards, we're driving on those streets. They were so much nicer than in Acres Home. The yards, the houses were so much bigger. And so my brothers said to my dad, why does it look so better over here than where we are? And as a kid, let me tell you, that impacted me. That stayed with me. Okay? If you want a better future for everybody, then the kids have to believe that regardless whether they live in the East End, in Grafton, whether they live in Sunnyside, that this city believes in them and is going to invest in them, such that when you're driving through or on a bus or on a train, the communities don't look so dramatically different. Now, culturally speaking, those are good things. The diversity, that's a good thing. Communities having personality, that's a good thing. But communities being less than, or not having grocery stores, schools that are not where they are, lacking economic and business opportunities, illegal dumping. You tell me the last time you found illegal dumping in some of our more affluent communities. People don't dump in these affluent communities. They dump in communities that are already burdened.
Right.
Because they feel as though they can handle that. Because my deal as the mayor of this city is no. We're going to rise together, because one side can't rise and the other is still down. So we have to rise together. So complete communities is saying, let's invest in our neighborhoods. Let's show people that we care before. We shouldn't need a death of a George Floyd or anybody else before we decide to do better. And lastly, on this point, what I would say to you. Yes, the city didn't burn after the death of George Floyd. Yes, there wasn't much vandalism. Yes, 60,000 marched downtown and they went home peacefully. And we didn't have to have a curfew. And Houston has been blessed. Blessed if we continue to invest in all of our people. And just because it didn't happen then, it will happen next year or year after next.
If that investment doesn't take place.
If it doesn't take place, and if it doesn't take And so that's what's important. That's my focus.
Right.
Focus. And quite frankly, you just have to stay focused. You have to keep smiling. You have to keep asking. Because I know there are people in this room.
There are people in this room that are going to join your Complete Communities initiative.
But
we know that, right? We know that. I mean, a lot of you are already here, but there will be more.
Yes.
So before we leave Complete Communities, I want to have a wondering if you have seen, or if you're expecting to see, if you haven't already, a correlation of these initiatives.
Situation in the city of Houston, there in the Houston standard, that's 3,000 too many.
San Francisco.
Yeah. Houston standard is too. Or you and the supportive services to move them off the street, because you just can't say come and go. You have to provide them with those amenities and those services to keep them permanently housed.
So since we're talking about housing,
Yes.
I'm going to ask you about Monday, because Monday you withdrew your recommendation for a $15 million project using Clear Lake. There's been a bit of a controversy about this. So I wanted to talk to you about it and get your thoughts on it, and have you say what you'd like to say.
I appreciate the question. Let me just say this, because in all of what's been said, reported, a lot of things are not conveyed. People don't get it. Nothing has been presented for City Council for them to consider. Nothing. The City Council members who are here, nothing is on their desk that the mayor has provided to them to consider. No project has been funded. Not a one. Okay? Nobody's voting on anything. This doesn't involve any bidding. It's notice of a funding availability, which means that if a developer is building a multifamily housing project and they are falling short on their financing, it's an application for gap funding. We have done 36 of these in the last couple of years. 36. All of them get funding because it's availability for gap funding. And we have given in the past 36 anywhere from $2 million to as much as $25 million. It's no bidding. The staff will do scoring, and on notice of fund availability, the mayor has the right to decide in the end what projects are going forward. With respect to one of the projects, there were only two. With respect to one, it was putting multifamily housing down there in Clear Lake. We have never put a multifamily house And so in this particular case, I am the mayor of the entire city. Not just one segment, the entire city. And District E is the only district where there has not been one. Now, let me also say this. When I came into office, I knew I was going to be on a great deal of scrutiny. I withdrew from, divested from all of my businesses. I did what most mayors have not done. All of my businesses, I withdrew. I have no financial pecuniary interest in any. I only withdrew that project on Monday because you can spend a lot of your time on things that you believe are true and right, and it diverts you from your larger agenda. I only have 2 years left, only 2. So even though there's nothing, even though no project has been funded, even though I have no pecuniary interest, even though the person said nothing illegal, illicit, or fraudulent, I could end up spending my time fighting this, or I could simply pull it back and focus on my bigger agenda. And I have chosen to focus on my bigger agenda.
And that agenda, I know, includes climate action. And this is going to be the last thing we talk about because we got to get everybody out of here. But I know that you are a national leader when it comes to climate, not just here in Houston, the energy capital of the world, and you are very committed to making sure that we remain that. So what is your vision for our climate future here in Houston as it relates to your role nationwide and conversations you're having with the Biden administration?
Well, let me just say that the storms are coming with greater frequency and greater intensity. And we just can't, we have to do things differently. Harvey for us was a game changer. This is the energy capital of the world. We will always be the energy capital of the world. I don't run away from our energy companies. They have to make us who we are. And I'm proud to be the mayor where we have some fantastic energy companies that exist within our city. We are now seeking to lead in energy transition, okay? For example, energy companies are working with me to take that Sunnyside landfill and turn that into the largest urban solar farm. Energy companies, your Senate point, underwrote our climate action plan. Shell underwrote our Resilient Houston plan, okay? So we're seeking now to lead in energy transition. We have conversation 9 to 11 of our energy companies now are focused on carbon capture, utilization, and storage, okay? That's a big thing. Even Exxon is talking about recycling plastics, okay? We're talking about establishing 50 2.0 climate tech, clean tech companies to do things in a much, much better way. We're talking about planting 4.6 million trees in the city of Houston between now and 20 and 30. We're talking about electrifying our public and transit fleet. Metro, Karen Patman and her team are here. Metro is buying more electric buses. The port is talking about zero emissions, okay? Chevron just announced about its zero emissions by 2050. So the climate action has 4 pillars: energy transition, electrifying our public transit fleet, building optimization, and recycling. We have the best recycling firm, company, plant, any place in the country, an integrated, automated, single-stream recycling material facility right here in this city, open under my administration, right here. 5, 10 years ago, no one would have thought about making the mayor of the energy capital of the world the head of the U.S. climate mayors. Houston? No one would have thought, okay?
And yet here we are.
But I will tell you, because of what people are seeing taking place in our city, yeah, I am head of the U.S. climate mayors. 474 cities, red as well as blue. I am the board chair of the Global Resilient Cities Network, and I chair the African American Mayors Association, all at the same time. But it's not because of who I am or I'm so great. It's a credit to everybody in this room and those not in this room. Because when people look at our city, they see a very diverse city that's making things happen. Yes, we faced our challenges. Yes, we've had Tax Day flood, Memorial Day floods, Harvey, Tropical Storm Imelda, Winter Storm Uri, and the list goes on and on.
On and on.
But what they also see is a city that continues to rise.
Yep.
And after every storm, we get better. After every event, we get better. And even under challenging times, we don't destroy our city. We work together in our city. So that's what the Resilient Plan is all about, the Climate Action Plan is all about, complete communities, and quite frankly, no team epitomizes Houston better than our Astros. Because no matter what people say, no matter what negativity comes our way, no matter how they say we are not the best because we do this and that, we allow our bats and our catchers to speak for us. That's who we are as a city. And what I will tell you, the best for this city has yet to come, because look out, we are still on the rise.
On the rise. And Mayor, with that, I think is the perfect way to end our conversation.
Oh, I gotta say something else. My daughter's getting married, and so y'all pray for her, because then she can return the credit cards. We're gonna show you how to put on a $500 wedding, you know. For those who can't be there, we're gonna send you the Zoom information. You know?
Mayor, just want to say it's been an honor to sit here and talk with you. And you are so right. This city is on the rise, as it is always. And it's a pleasure to have you leading our city. And your passion for what you do is palpable. So I was going to ask you to end by sharing with us what's in your heart, but you've already done that.
Thanks. Please give it up for Linda Laurel.
You have already done that. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next year. Until then, please be safe and be well. Have a great day.